Hello and welcome to Audible River. I'm Alan Rice, and I'm very happy to have with me Tommie Mercer, founder and owner of Starchamber Products. In Tommie's more than 35 years of researching water, he's made some amazing discoveries that are proving to be very beneficial to people's health and quality of life. So, Tommie, how are you doing today?
I'm very well. What can I do for you today, Alan? I'd explain a little bit about this water, I would imagine.
Oh, yes, let's start with that. First, let me ask you this question.
Sure.
What is vertically enhanced water? What is that?
Vertically enhanced water, that's what the planet does. That's the ground that you're standing on. Deep in the earth, when the water is inside of the planet, it moves in a vertical manner because of the vertical energy of the planet. The planet's moving all the time, and of course, we have that magnetic core. What that does is that sets a vertical motion, just like moving a magnet around a pile of iron filings. And what the water does is it takes on that attraction because water is made of hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen actually is a metallic element in a form. So what you get is, let's just call it spinning water. So you get this very, very active water. Now, if you pull that water up out of the surface of the earth where it is being activated, what happens is you lose its activity. And especially if you pull it up into a metal or a wood pipe or a plastic pipe, if you measure that with a meter, you see that there was a minor amount of electricity, so to speak, in the water. Pull it out of the ground, put it through processing, all of a sudden the water is dead. What we have done is we have reestablished that vertical energy by using certain earth elements in a tank charger, we call it. Basically, it's so basic. It looks a lot like a chase lounge pad, I guess, if you're actually looking at it. And we
Okay.
put it, just tape it or bungee it to the side of a 20,000 gallon distilled water tank down in Sacramento and leave it overnight. Next morning, we pump out all the unlimited amounts of vertical energy water because it's all been hypercharged because of this device attached to the side of the tank.
Okay. All right, Tommy. Let me see. Let me try to recap that a little bit. So, what you're saying? Oh, maybe work it backwards. So this chaise lounge blanket that you're talking about
Hmm.
is full of selection of minerals that I guess maybe giving away trade secrets to tell me like kind of what's in there. But you're
Oh
you're
my,
you're
yeah,
imitating. Go ahead.
various earth elements, volcanic soils elements, different minerals that are deep, deep within the earth. See, the water isn't in contact with those things unless you pull it up against these elements. Again, once you pull it up out of the earth in a well, with the exception of spring. Now, spring will still have a very highly active energy field. For example, like you've heard of Baden Springs in Germany, I believe it is, or the Lourdes Springs. All of those have a very high activity, electrical activity, so they pronounce effect on people. But once it's taken away from its source, the energy dissipates. What we have found is a method to reestablish and permanently establish that vertical energy within our water.
So what you're saying is that the process that you're using to recollect that energy, that it does not dissipate the way
That's
that.
correct.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. So now, how did you discover any of this to begin with?
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
Yeah, goodness gracious. This begins in a process. It's actually about right almost exactly 50 years ago. I started reading some books and became a master Rosicrucian and studied a lot of the ancient energy techniques and so forth, and a lot of the old methods and techniques of what they call alchemy. But alchemy has nothing to do with chemistry. It has to do with geomancy or the functioning of the Earth's energy. For example, I'll give you an example. Here we are on the Earth. We have a nine system planet. We have the proton, which is the sun, nine electrons, which is the Earth, and all the other planets. So therefore, you have a rather magnificently huge atom that has one proton and nine electrons. That makes this one large atom. So that whole system is functioning as an atom. Then you bring it down to the size of the Earth. Then you got the Earth as a proton, the moon as an electron. Then you got more energetic motion because the moon is revolving around the magnetic field of the Earth. That in turn does it not pull the ties up? You see?
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, there you go. So what I did was I took advantage of the all of these elements and recreated using primarily some volcanic elements, and example, some beach elements for effect from Bodega. That's funny,
Okay.
but in fact, yeah, well, because there's certain elements, they're rare earth elements. Let's just say things that don't ordinarily appear on the surface of the earth appear in certain places. And so what I found that through the dowsing techniques that I use, I was able to select and combine these elements and or separate these elements from one another, causing stress in the elements, which in turn causes the rotation of the water that's placed upon it. And you simply place it on it. There's nothing whatsoever in our water. Down at the bottling plant, that water is purified for distillation down to less than 1 part per million, very, very pure.
Hmm.
And we never, in fact, absolutely never touch that water after it's been bottled. So you see, actually, we're vibrating, if you will, penetrating the entire surface of a carbon steel tank. Carbon, you see. So here we are again
Ah,
back to a natural element.
got it.
So basically, we got let's call it a gigantic vibratory earth vibratory battery. And so we've got this whole tank charging the water, and it charges in a vortex. I do have a video that was taken by a researcher, and it's showing 20,000 power under a dark field scanning microscope under black dark field. That is a physical, vortical physical energy looking much like a little tornadoes inside of the water. When the sample was actually photographed, it was 10 years in the bottle.
Wow.
There you go. So
Wow.
we know longevity is with us there. But yeah, once it's put in a container, it's continuous. So we have a continuous, what we call a vortical movement. That means a vortex moving in a right-hand fashion. Negative energy taking away, or bad energy, let's just say negative or dark energy from the body, that's in a negative vortex. That's the toxins out of the body and the debris, bad water, things like that, or elements you shouldn't be putting into the body. So when you put really good water in the body and it's got all this heavy charge on it, they go into the water goes through a series of systems called the aquaporids. That's an acknowledgement of the body that this water is a-okay. We'll accept this water and we'll take the energy carried in the water to make your systems function. Yeah. Then
So,
you open up a bottle of X plastic water and you go to drink it. Next thing you know, you're drinking 20 bottles of water because the aquaporids have no vorticles. There's no vortex because of processing.
wow. So you're saying that the human body is, evolved to thrive on this energy.
Absolutely. We couldn't function otherwise. Blood functions in a vortical manner. Every drop of water should function in a vortical manner. Whereas, if it's been blocked by dis-ease conditions, that's an out of ease body, functionally, emotional distress, things like that, that can cause a tightening of the body energy. Therefore, you're drawing the energy away from yourself. So the idea is to recharge the body, you see.
My goodness, I think that a lot of people. I mean, now water is a huge issue on the planet. I mean, and
Oh,
and
yes.
and it gets piped all over the place, and storage, and transport, and the
Oh,
lack of
yeah.
it in some places, scarcity. I
Right.
mean, the water is a huge issue, and I don't. It seems like I just imagine where most people are getting their water and how they're getting their water is like, I, I mean, is anybody getting the water that they're supposed to? Like the way that our ancestors did, drawing it out of the ground
Right.
or that kind. I'm going to ask you something else. What about rivers and streams and that sort of thing? Are the vortexes exist in those in a natural state?
Well, anybody that studied Victor Schauberger's work discovered that his work, he worked with vortical energy in streams. That's where he first discovered. He noted that in streams, when water pooled down into its natural form, going through rocks and around corners, they pools what we call eddies, or little, if you will, little tiny whirlpools, microscopic in the water. Not just microscopic, they went down subatomic. So that means the spring is restoring its energy as it flows. So again, the springs that are coming out natural, i.e. the Shasta Springs at Mount Shasta are exceptionally high energy in the vortexes. They're almost in a light form.
Wow.
But yeah, well, anything with a spring, and if it's coming out of a volcano, it's got to be really, really good energy for you.
Okay.
Yep. But you stick it in that good old plastic bottle, and the next thing you know, the plastic is electricity in a solid form, and it's trying to take down the electricity out of your water and so on. Put it in glass.
Put it in
Yeah, there
glass.
you go.
Yeah.
Put it
Yeah.
in glass.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
good. Okay, well, remember that glass. Just use glass. So where now the the energy collector, the hypercharger, or whatever that's called. Now, where is that
You
energy?
take
Where is it
high
coming from?
charger,
Yes.
hypercharger is good, tank charger is good. Only reason we call it tank charger, it's a nomenclature, meaning it's the device we stick on the side of a tank. And again, it'll physically, literally, in the weight and size of a chase launch pad is a simple way to describe it. Now, the thing weighs about 55 to 60 pounds, though. So
Okay.
within this tool, there are hundreds of different kinds of elements and soils and earths that I have all been traveling all over this whole country since. I mean, I've traveled thousands of miles for years and years collecting different elements and experimenting with them. There are certain elements that are within this device that are, if you will, interactive with one another, yet they are separated from one another. So the agitation between the two interaction causing an energy charge in the other. A piece of paper magnet underneath the paper, you have iron filings, not on them, but you note when you pass the magnet over the paper, the iron filings are jumping, but yet they're separated.
So,
Okay,
oh,
so
oh,
the whole idea is I make these magnets jump, all these things jump like crazy because they can't make a full turn. So what you have basically is you have a very high frequency vortex or vortical, a circular energy being formed in the tool. That in turn does what we call biomagnetic entrainment. Big word, simply means make the water spin in the same form because water naturally will be entrained because hydrogen being in a magnetic form. If you want to run back about 20 to 30,000 years, you note that in the pyramids down underneath in those great big boxes, the ones that are shiny like your bathroom mirror that are 90 degrees precision
uh-huh.
and so on. Well, if you'll take a real good close look at the red granite and the materials these things are made of, those are the beginning elements of very strong hypercharging elements. The red granite having nano electricity in them, for example, the radiant energy, but they have to be in a polished form, closed tight like that. And then, of course, the water that you would get out of such a thing would be almost glowing in the dark. So the Egyptians had this business way long ago. So that's where I began my study. I was wondering when read about the sarcophagus at the pyramid, and I had friends would bring me a little bit of sand from there, and I began doing some testing. What was put in there was basically gold colloid from a gold plate put into the bottom and very pure water. It was actually a tub, and then that would charge up in there, and then a person would lie down what inside, and then they would reach the quote awareness unquote. You see how that worked? So you're hypercharging in a form, a raw form, but it was done in that way. No one was ever buried in that box,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
So the whole entire business, that whole system, that whole building was fully designed to be able to transfer energy or vortical energy and or hypercharge elements, for example. I make amulets and jewelry. I'm a master silversmith. I take the amulet and I put in one of my hyperchargers. Same thing, because the element silver has structure. It has an element in it in copper. It will too hypercharge, but on a much stronger level. So the whole idea is you get the whole thing in system and hypercharge, and then the body raises an awareness. And if you've ever read some of the testimonials when people are wearing the jewelry or taking the water, consistently getting that very elevated consciousness awareness, incredibly intense lucid dreaming, life-changing experiences from wearing a piece of jewelry or a drop or two of this water.
That's fascinating to me. That
Well, there it is.
I mean that this energy that
Yeah.
the human body, however our mind and consciousness it works,
Hmm.
it is. I want to say, is it enhanced, amplified, or in some way, improved with with this type of energy? It's a specific kind
Yes.
of energy that we're talking about here,
That's correct, right?
and
And it hasn't been on the Earth for centuries, for eons, because you turn on the radio, next thing you know, you got a radio wave flying through the air, and that's flying around and through the bottling plants and everywhere. Man, we have trash as far as our water goes. It's pretty much trash. The activity of the water, the vitality of the water is very low. So all you got to do really is clarify the water. Get the body water pure and active. The next thing you know, the brain synapses are working 900 miles an hour, and the mind clears. And the ancients knew that. When the pharaoh or the highest of the order would go and lie down in this water and become aware, get this awareness and all of this energy flowing through chops or whichever scepter they had. When you put water and the gold colloid together, meaning put for a gold sheet down in the bottom of the pyramid and then put very pure water above it, natural electrical energy flows through a pyramid. It simply does because of the granite contains nano radioactive elements. If you take a look at red granite and look what all is in it, there's nano radioactivity in the form of a natural form. It charges the water,
It charges the
just like
water.
the earth. Yeah, just like the earth. So they build these big old boxes, and put it, it's all about fuel, though, in that case.
Wow, wow. And this is all, and this isn't, I mean, what you call it tools, but these are, it isn't like the way that we think of technology today, where you got to have
No,
like, all
no,
these little, circuits or gears or things like that.
no,
You're
no.
talking about, the very elements of the earth
Hmm.
used in a way that they are interacting with one another. And that's a level of intelligence that it doesn't seem to be practiced a lot these days. It's a whole, we're living in a whole different kind of time than
Oh,
what
yeah.
the, what
Well,
the Egyptians were experiencing.
this energy antediluvian, it's so ancient. You see a lot of these large stone towers, for example. If you go up and get close to them, you'll notice a slight change in the magnetic energy. Well, what that is basically is you're tapping, just like Nikola Tesla or any of the others. You're simply tapping to a natural energy around the Earth. You got to just take a magnetic ball. And you're rotating the thing around in an atmosphere, you're gonna you're gonna have an electric charge. If you don't believe it, stick up a big iron rod where it's lightning. You'll believe it. Yeah, there you go. So there is electricity out there. So
Yeah.
but it's not always like that. It's always electric. But when it focuses, and sometimes in color, you'll see it in colors. The auras, for example, of the Earth has its aura. That it has. What do you call them?
The
From the planet.
the Aurora Borealis is
The
that?
Aurora Borealis, yeah,
Yes.
I got that. Now, that's the Earth's aura. So you note that it disturbs the Earth's aura as well. And the Earth has the same aura that we do. It's got the same living body that we do. And here it's charging up in all of these different waters. So you walk into Baden-Baden, you drink the water, your hair falls back in instead of falling out. Yeah, it's a good, strong feeling of energy, but it does not last. So what we found basically is a simple really ancient method of making it last into the water. And not only water, now we formed it out of a colloid of gold, a colloid of silver, a colloid of zinc, colloid of platinum, and other things that we've worked with. It's incredible how the energy just flows through all of these different elements that you can make from it.
So what would you do with these different colloids that you were just speaking of?
Well, if you put colloid of gold in the brain, science has shown us that experimental work that they've done with colloids showing it reconditions the synapses and kind of polishes them, puts them back in working order, if you will, putting it simply. Colloid of silver works like silver, the silver that people use in the bottle. The only difference is this is in a nano form. We're talking about particles so small you can't even see them with a microscope. But when we test, we'll shoot a laser, a red laser, through what we've done to the work to get proof of what we've got in. Then you see nanoscopic particles in there. And then when you put them under a high-powered microscope, they're moving really fast in vortexes. And then instead of silver, as you take it in a regular form for bacteria, I don't know whatever they call it, then you've got the stuff moving through these receivers in the body that will allow it into the body because it's in a moving form. It's in a natural electrical form. But you've got to have something moving like foods, everything you put into your body, anything you put in you, if it's not moving in a proper method and a form, it is disruptive to the body. And I suspect that's how we get disorder in the body, is the fact that when we put these objects that have been taken off their magnetic field of fluids and vital liquids and so on. But I've discovered a method of replacing all of that. And I've had this since about 1982 is when I first started really experimenting with it in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I was lecturing there at the Black Hills School of Mines and demonstrating the work, and at the Black Hills School of Mines and Technology, and then later at Black Hills State University. And then in 1991, I gave a half-hour limited paper for the International Forum of New Sciences Conference on discharged water at the International Forum of New Sciences at Colorado State University. So we've explained it in several ways, but the paper in Colorado, for example, in 5 pages in 30 minutes, I have explained the entire process, how it works, where it's from, and how it can be conditioned for human use.
So is this something that I mean, now you've obviously put a lot of work into collecting these materials that go into creating the the chargers. Now, now is this? I mean, are you? Is this a patent that that you have? I mean, I'm just wondering, like, uh, is it just you that's doing this, or how are you developing this to be shared with the world? Is what I'm wondering about.
Well, somehow I ended up with a tag of the Indiana Jones of light work, and I haven't got a clue how that happened. But yes, I have traveled all the way from New York City to Dubai, all over the United States for thousands of miles to 30,000 miles a year for years on end, collecting materials, Black Hills, Texas. I mean, everywhere I went. So I'm researching everywhere I go and picking up materials and taking them off and putting them on. And it was a selective process using the dowsing skills that I was born with. I do professional dowsing as well. Of course, I'm sure you're aware of that. But that's the easy way to do it. All you got to do is look for electrical components in a material, look for the color of the components, and then match the components to what you're trying to charge, and then it's a piece of cake.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Right. It sounds like it to you, I guess, but
Well, it's practice. It's
it's practice.
practice. It
Yes.
just take 50 years out of your life and
Okay.
separate the rocks from the sand. And what? Oh
So,
dear,
Tommy,
it's a long process, a
this
very long
this is
process.
what specialization of labor is all about. It's like we need people like you to do this stuff. Not all of us are going to spend 50 years at it. Now,
I've never heard of anyone that's made vortical water other than Victor Schauberger. But see, it's only temporary, Alan.
yeah.
Every time they make a vortex, it's just a temporary. They've got 2,500,000 vortical gizmos on the web, I notice these days. But you wait about 15 to 20 minutes, and guess what? Vortexes are dead. They're useless. Yeah, you can make these really nice vortexes with Schauberger machines and water machines and all this, but you put keyword machine. If I put
Machine.
my water, a clear distilled water that I use, through a machine after it's been charged, what happens is it basically neutralizes the charge because it's trying to balance the charge of the machine, right?
Oh, I see. Wow.
Here you go. It only needs your body for a machine. That's all it needs. Now, as
Okay.
far as the effects on the body, we have a huge array on starchamberproducts.com on the website. Patients that are people that have used this water for well over 40 years, some of them, and it's a very clear commentary on the how people have had effects and the uses they have with the water. It's best explained if you take a look and see. There's so many different effects, and of course, the law will not allow me to make one single claim on it. So basically, I just collect claims from people who are using the water.
Oh, okay.
It's a 100% pharmaceutical clean grade distilled water made by a company down that does that in their water bottle company. Actually, they make water for the jet engine cleaning in Beale Air Force Base right there in the Sacramento. It's that pure.
Okay.
So, oh, well, we have really pure water. It's required because you have a speck of anything, the stuff takes on the charge, not the
Oh,
water.
not the
Yep.
water, right?
Nope, nope. So what we do, well, here's an interesting use of it. We'll take a bottle of that water, make a glass bottle, say a green glass bottle. And if you're having a real bad emotional experience and so forth, what we do is we pour our water into the green bottle, and the energy field of the water rotating, producing an electric field, hitting the green energy produces a green vortical energy in the air. And people have discovered things like that. The thing is, it is a transmitter of energy. People will walk into the room and acknowledge that there's an energy in the room. Well, somebody just sprayed the air, with one of our air sprays, for example,
Wow.
that contains gold colloid. We have one that's made from gold colloid and sage that's really, really popular. And basically, what you do is you simply spray the air, and then you got nano-sized gold particles creating all of these energy fields, and it's a wonderful meditative experience, for example. So there's so many uses. But as
So,
far as anybody else making it, I've never heard of it in all the years, not
wow.
that I'm aware of.
I think it should be everywhere. I mean, it just sounds
Oh,
wonderful. So,
it's too complicated. There's about 10 different elements of bag, and that's it. There's nothing to it. If you
okay.
just take about, yeah, it's so silly simple. If you take the ancients, what they would do is they would take out some elements, 5 pieces of material, and they would make a stack of these materials, and that's what they would use. It's just so simple. That's the funny part of it. There's nothing complex about it. It's such an antediluvian science, is what it is.
Wow. So you mentioned that you touched on something very interesting about color. So the vortical energy can, how is that activating a specific type of energy related to color? So if it gets close to a color or works near a color how does that work? And the different colors, what are we talking about there as far as different types of energy?
Well, if you've seen the illustrations, it shows red through violet on the body. Well, it's not exactly red through violet. There are actually 9 energy centers through the body. There's the infrared, that's the heat, the warmth that makes us operate, say hello to each other.
Hmm.
The warmth, the living force, the prana. Then there's one on the way other end of it, and it's ultraviolet, and it's not the one that kills bugs. The ultraviolet is your soul joining the body. That's where you attach yourself to the astral world. The
Oh.
Egyptians were aware that there are 9 soul bodies, 9 planets. So each of those planets represent a frequency on our body. You've got the sun as a photon, trying to get everything in order by balancing all these other 9 planets out. And there you are running 9 electrons in your body, you see. So when these things are all out of balance, then disorder takes place. So when we take, for example, in the ancient text, they'll say, well, this is the red center or the green center. Well, yeah, that's very true. But when you've got too much yellow and green around your body, you're paranoid. You're afraid. You've had a terrible fear experience. Scan readers, people who do scan reading, like I do color reading, instantaneously be able to detect these color out of balance. I worked with it a lot. So what I would do basically was I would take 2 of those colors and I would replace them in a balanced color. I would take yellow and green natural food color into view water, put it into a clear glass jar, and voila, people write back. It's like, my whole life changed, you just read the testimonials. In fact, what it does is it gets in and vibrates the color back into frequency. It's so basic, simple.
Vibrates the color back into frequency. And what you're saying
Correct.
is that the energy is color in the body. So we
Oh,
have
absolutely. You bet.
we have different color energies that's part of our body
Absolutely.
system,
Yep.
and that
Yep.
they all need to be in a kind of balance.
Oh, ask any yogi.
Okay, well,
Absolutely.
ask
Any
any
yogi will
yogi.
tell you.
Let's go. Let's like
Yeah,
I'll go down to the corner and ask my corner yogi. Anyway, so um, and what you just said that you do readings, you're able to
I do.
do you detect when somebody's coloring is out of balance, and you have a technique of restoring that balance.
Easily.
And
Easily.
so what happens when somebody feels they're what is this technique? What does the benefit feel like? Can you describe that a little bit?
If I get a stronger red energy and a stronger orange energy and a really stronger blue energy, and I get no other color around the body, there's anger. That's the frequency of anger. When you do thousands and thousands, my goodness, of readings, all over the United States for years on end, that's basically what I did was color scan readings. What you see if these readings are out of balance in color, and in any of those simple 9 colors, all you got to do is put the 9 colors back into balance. So if you got an excess in red or blue, you go to the complementary side of the spectrum.
Okay.
See, there you go. You complement. Just like when I'm drawing a color, I'll do a complementary color in the painting to get a complement to that color.
Yeah.
For example, red to violet or orange to indigo, for example, that's the opposite or spectral color red. So
Right.
we'll put the color back and forth that way. You can drink color. You can drink orange juice with some of the view in it, people will claim, for example.
Interesting.
Some will drink spirulina for that brilliant green color with natural energy vortexes. It has natural vortexes in it, spirulina algae. So they'll get this huge energy rush because it's been clarified and amplified.
My
But
goodness.
it's all about color, Alan, I assure you. 9 planets, 9 energy centers, infrared through ultraviolet. And that's red through violet in the spectrum. What I do in the zillion readings when I read people, I first read the infrared to make sure the heat and the processes of the body are in order. Then I go through each of the chakras and make sure the chakras are in spinning in equal balance. If I see anything out of balance, immediately it basically determines what or if any issues are required to balance the body, what issues cause the out of balance. I'm not sure if I did a reading for you at Ohana or not. That's basically what I did at Ohana, was do readings all the time,
Yeah, no,
constantly.
I have not had a reading done by you.
Oh,
So
no, I
I know,
must
right?
please offer you a reading sometime, sir.
Okay.
Oh, I'd love
I
to do
gotta
that for
gotta
you, for
come by.
sure.
You gotta tell me what color I am, right?
Oh, I do
So
them by phone.
oh, you
All
can?
over the world.
Okay.
Oh,
All
sure,
right.
all over the world. You bet. Oh, anywhere, all over the floor. I still do them all over the world.
And that you bring up an interesting point that
Sure.
about this kind of working with energy quality over distance. I mean, I've talked to people
Right.
who are energy workers, and like shamans, or people
Hmm.
who just are kind of experienced it. So time and space doesn't seem to be a limit in
It's
people's
not. It's not real relevant to us. No.
okay.
You're not really.
Okay, all right.
Not really.
Okay.
You got that. You're exactly correct. It's
Okay.
not relevant.
Okay. All right. But I think that, to a skeptic,
Yeah.
to look at that and go like, well, how do you do that?
Right.
But
Right.
but once you are practicing it and you like know what that reality is, what it feels
Yep.
like, it's
Yep.
like, that's just natural. It's like, of course
Yes.
I can do it here, there,
Of
anywhere
course.
kind of
Of
thing.
course.
But that's what I hear from many people who do energy work, or what would you call this? You're doing color readings and balancing
Well,
colors.
I'm a geomancer. I basically take materials from the earth and put them into form to make energy. And that's the actual definition of that. Being able to read and romance the earth, that's a geomancer. That's very ancient art. It's an art form of reading the earth or reading elements of the earth to be able to do, to make it do things, if you will. For example, I'm working with water, do geomancy with water. Alchemy, being a master Rosicrucian since 1977, I studied quite a lot about alchemy. All that means basically is the element, putting elements in order in the body. Alchemy is the exception to chemistry. It's beyond chemistry. In other words, showing above that. For example, understanding which of these stones or materials or volcanic elements can make a certain color or energy frequency affecting the waters, and working with that and testing it with one of the star tools. And then every once in a while, you get a payback. You get a nice crop circle that really hits exactly the form that you put in the tool, and then you know exactly what you've done there.
Wow.
They're confirmed by the crop circles.
Okay, all right. So this now we're getting into other things now. So, okay, getting back to the water though, before we run out
Right.
of time here,
Oh,
I
yes.
want to find out, like, if somebody wanted to get some, how do they do that?
Starchamberproducts.com.
That's simple.
Very basic. Yeah.
Starchamberproducts.com. Very basic.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Just go there
Please
and
do. Please, yeah, please read all the clients, some of the responses. Make sure, to be sure. And if you feel in your heart that this will be beneficial, I'm sure it would be felt by people. And, we have clients in every country in the world. I also have distributors and buyers in France that distribute all of Western Europe now. We've expanded, and Canada now we've expanded. We have biointegration centers in Eastern Canada. So we've basically expanded quite a lot since Ohana before.
wow. Wow, that's great news. That's
Oh,
wonderful. It's
yeah.
wonderful that
Well,
you're,
yeah.
it's well,
I'd
it's
love to offer you a reading. Maybe then sometime we can chat about readings.
Let's do that. Yeah, we'll
Okay.
do that in another episode, and
Oh,
maybe
sure, you bet.
we'll, like, I'll be brave, and like we'll do one for an episode or something like
I'm
that.
not sure I would do it on air, frankly, but you can give it a shot if you want. It's up to you. I don't
Okay, all
mind.
right.
Whatever.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
One other little thing that I kind of want to bring up, and that is that
Sure.
I understand that water itself, let's say it's sensitive. I mean, I understand that water picks up whatever energy is around it.
Hmm.
So what you're vertically enhancing water, but like I understand that you may have met or done some work with Dr. Masaru Emoto at some
I,
time.
yeah, I toured with him. I lectured with him.
Okay, you lectured with him.
Oh
So
yeah, I can send you. I can send you a one of our flyer announcements that'll show you. We were down in Pasadena doing a show. Oh, that's funny you'd say that because that's one of the places I really learned about how water holds energy. Dr. Emoto and I were sitting one day there. We were talking. I'll show you the conference paper later. But we were having lunch, and a young man walks up to our table and whacks a glass of water on the table and walks out the door. And Dr. Emoto looks at me and he goes, "You read, right?" I go, "Yeah." He says, "Read that water." So I read the water and I said, "Wow, that water is full of anger." And he smiles. He goes, "That man just got fired."
oh, really?
My whole being. So you see what I mean? He just all he did was carry the water out.
Oh my goodness.
And
And
yeah,
so
there you go.
the
There you go.
water held the
All
energy,
the
right?
energy. Yep.
So now, and then Dr. Emoto, didn't he have some experiments or some methods that, what I love about what you're doing here and what we're talking about is that,
Right.
there's science behind this. There's
Oh, absolutely.
there's
Well, meta
there's
science. Let's call it. Let's tag it meta science, shall
well,
we? Let's give it a brand new name, shall we?
I
Meta
know.
science, beyond science.
Well, yeah, I mean there is that. There is that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that in many of the things that we're talking about, we have material ways of verifying these experiences.
Oh, yes.
Right. So but what did what did so there so you verified that the water contained the anger of the person who just got fired, but also
Yes, indeed.
the water just picks up anything, right? It can pick up, good emotions, bad emotions, or,
Yep.
complex things and that sort. But
If it's distilled,
if
if
it's
it's distilled, it picks it up everything. I mean, 100% of everything. But if you have debris in the water, or if the water has been processed, then it's not as efficient, if you will. And in reverse, it's not as efficient in aiding your body either. You're not going to absorb all the water if the body can't, if it's been electrocuted. You got 60 cycle energy vibrating the atomic structure of the water. No, no, no. We're 2.77 hertz there, we're way lower frequency than that water is. So the water goes out through urine, and
um,
so we miss a lot of energy that way.
I see
Dehydration.
dehydration, even though
Yep. Yep.
this is pretty amazing stuff. Um, so I'm just wondering, like, obviously you're getting a lot more attention these days, and so what kind of people are you? I mean, are there um, like business uses that people are making with your water? I mean, obviously people are drinking it or using it,
Hmm.
finding personal health, but are there other
Oh, yeah.
uses that people are finding for your water?
Well, you could mix it with any sports drink on this whole earth, and then put it in put it in fifth gear. It will accelerate absolutely anything at all you put it into. For cosmetics, for example, the gold colloid for a spray. You put the View into your favorite drinking water. I don't care what you're drinking as long as it's pure. It's actually an additive, if you will. If you'll notice on that 16.9-ounce bottle, that big gold bottle, it says use 1 capful per gallon.
Mm.
No fooling, no kidding. See, wow, wow, I got that almost 17 ounces of water, and I only need a little cap full, and that's about 20 drops for the whole entire gallon of water that I'm making for my
Wow.
use. So it's efficient, and it's also very powerful. But yes, we do in fact have a visual video of the water at 30,000, 20,000 power using a dark field scanning microscope by Randy Zistas. He's a water expert that worked with Los Alamos and several others in Stanford University. We have visual proof of it. We also have an electrostatic. We showed it. Actually, I could send you a picture of the meter showing a bottle of water passing by a meter, throwing the meter up into power about 6 to 8 nanovolts. So this stuff
Wow.
is really putting energy out into the air. Drink a bottle of water and don't sleep. But you will dream unbelievable levels, on the real levels like nothing you've ever dreamed of, past lives, of future lives, of other worlds. It just really opens up the whole human body. 100% harmless. Never, it's distilled water. How are they going to hurt you? It is harmless to the body completely, and very purifying and cleansing.
Well, I mean, okay, all right. My mind is just going, oh wow. So I have tried the water, and it is amazing. And I've noticed, some interesting things about it. I like I mean, for me, the weird thing that I first noticed about the water straight out of the bottle when you put it in the cap. I mean, I
Yep.
know this not a, it's not. I'm not a scientist in that aspect, and
Right.
this is anecdotal 100%. But the weird thing is that it looks like it has a much stronger surface tension
Yes, it does.
than normal
It
water.
looks like oil, almost like oil tension.
Yeah, like it
What's
really.
more, well, it's more dense. You see, that's what we've done. We've done and dense, made the water more dense. That's a pretty easy way to say it.
Yeah, so I could really see a
Oh yeah,
difference in how
oh
the
yeah,
water behaved
oh yeah.
than regular
We
water.
sprayed, we sprayed down on one of the rice fields. We put quite a while back. We sprayed one of the rice fields over here in Willows, California. When the pilot came back to the hangar, he looked at me. He goes, "You know what?" He says, "When the water hit the field water, it was blue." He said, "My field turned blue."
What?
What is that all about? So next 2, 3 weeks later, he comes back with, "Hey man, you know that wind we just had?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "You know what rice pole?" I go, "No, I don't know what rice pole is." Well, when rice is really young and a shoot above or two of the water, just an inch or two, the wind can pull it out of the mud. Not one rice piece was pulled out on the water shot field.
Wow.
None. And the other fields had a bunch of rice up against the wall. So there's not just one use. Agriculture is an entire world different of what the uses are for this wire. I mean, my goodness, people are using this in agriculture from A to Z, literally from A to Z, everything in the world. Wow, try tomatoes grown with this. You have never tasted that kind of flavor before, really.
Well, this is just truly amazing, and I will take you up on that color reading someday, Tommie.
Yeah,
And
please do when you're ready.
I'm so I think that's going to be all for this episode. But I
Super,
would
thank you.
love to talk some more some other time. And thank
bet.
you, Tommie Mercer. Geomancer extraordinaire. Is that
anytime,
okay?
Alan?
Can I call you that?
Anytime, Alan. Let me know, and I'd be happy to share with your audience anytime. We've just basically put a breath on the window pane in this wintertime on this work.
Okay. Well,
take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And that is all for this episode of Audible River. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share, you can email us at audibleriverpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.